So Dharma Speaks. I'm Anupama Handal from Kashmiri Pandit Cultural Society, UK. I'm joined by Puneet Dwivedi from Hindu Forum of Britain and Abhay Kumar ji from Friends of India International Society and Tripti Patel ji from Hindu Forum of Britain. And today our esteemed guest is Shri Ishkaran Singh Bhandari. Before I go on to introduce our guest, let's start with a small prayer. A prayer to Mata Sharda. Om. Om Namaste Sharda Devi Kashmir Purvasini Swaham Prarthaye Nityam Vidyam Danam Chadehime. We bow to Sharda Devi, whose abode is in Kashmir. We pray to her every day to grant us the boon of wisdom. This is a common prayer in most dharmic households, but for those who don't know, Kashmir is also known as Sharda Desh because it's the seat of goddess Saraswati, also known as Sharda Mata. Sharda Peeth was a world-famous university in Kashmir between 16th and 12th century CE. It had a grand library and a scholarship that was famed around the world from other universities. And as a matter of fact, graduates from other universities used to walk three steps to a Sharda University to mark their quest for higher education. It was here in Sharda University that Sharda Lipi was developed, and it was popularized. Many North Indian languages, including Kashmiri and also Sanskrit, was written in the Sharda script. But Sharda script, unfortunately, is going to be extinct because very few people know how to read and write it. As I said, Sharda Peeth was, and Kashmir was considered as the seat of Ma Sharda, the goddess of learning. Sharda University now lies in ruins in Neelam Valley in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So that was a history lesson plus a little prayer all in one. Let's head towards the talk today. As I said, our esteemed guest today is Ishkaran Singh Bhandari. He's a young, dynamic Supreme Court lawyer. You must have seen him on TV debates all the time. He puts a valiant nationalist and anti-corruption viewpoint. It's always a pleasure to watch. He also has his YouTube channel where he regularly discusses topics pertinent to Dharma. He's a political analyst. He's an anti-corruption crusader, a columnist, and a public speaker, appearing often in TV debates. He's been vocal about several dharmic causes such as the Halal certification, about government control of temples, about Ram Mandir, about Kashmiri Pandit exodus. He's also been involved with high-profile cases like the National Herald case, Swamy Shri Asaram Bapu case, Nirabhaya gang rape case, Sunanda Pushkar murder case, etc. So it's our honor to welcome Ishkaran to this conversation on Dharma Speaks. Namaskar Ishkaran ji, welcome.
Namaskar Ishkaran ji, welcome.
I'm audible?
Yes.
Good to have you here on Dharma Speaks. It's third in the series. And before we start into serious questions, I would like to ask you a challenge back to you. What have you learned since the lockdown in March? What's new that you're doing that you didn't do before?
What's new I'm doing is two things. One is I started a YouTube channel in the lockdown. I started it small. In fact, I started a Facebook page also effectively. And I'm very happy that people wanted to join in, listen in, and the channel has now 30,000 subscribers. So if anybody here wants to join in, do join in, because we have to go online now. I do not know how long this coronavirus will last, but the way out of this is that we have to keep our minds busy. That's the reason I came. We have to spread whatever limited knowledge we have. We have to gain a lot of knowledge by talking to others. So we have to go online, and I was not very online savvy. I'm still struggling, but at least I'm going out and talking to people in a virtual way, and that is very often a real way. Otherwise, we would have never connected. You are sitting in London, I'm sitting here. People are doing this for maybe 5, 7, 8 years, but those who are not doing it, even they are forced to do it now, and they must do it now.
That's fantastic. Many people have become online savvy.
That's nice to know. We'll all ask our viewers to subscribe to your Facebook and YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, I lately did see one of your YouTube videos. It was about the temple gold issue.
Yeah.
But we'll come to that question in a minute. Starting on the line of our serious questions, Ishkaranji, I'm a Kashmiri Hindu. 1990 was a very difficult year for us because me and my community was thrown out of Kashmir, which has been a land of our ancestors. In the process, we have lost our culture, we have lost our heritage, our children are not connected to the roots. So in 2017, we filed a PIL in the Supreme Court of India. We sought probe into killing an exodus of Kashmiri Pandits. It was argued in Supreme Court of India that 27 years have passed. There will be no evidence available. That's not true. There's both victim and perpetrator evidence, video evidence of what happened to us. Could you tell us what's the next step forward in order to get the PIL was thrown out of the court unceremoniously? What is the next step? How can we get justice for Kashmiri Hindus?
It's a very unfortunate case where even though we are discussing next step, unfortunately at a governmental level, even the first step has not been taken. We still do not have a uniform definition that what happened in Kashmir was a genocide. A government of India or the government of Jammu Kashmir, there is no official recognition that a genocide happened of Kashmiri Hindu, Kashmiri Sikhs, all communities, and what and how that genocide was perpetrated. We have this Genocide Convention of United Nations. And I, in January, wrote to the Honorable Home Minister of India, Mr. Amit Shah ji, that first thing is define a term. There is a reason there is a Genocide Convention. If you yourself do not define it as genocide, and it was a cultural genocide, it was an ethnic genocide, and it was a genocide in which people lost their lives. We have all seen that. And worse, I'm not getting into that because those facts everybody knows. So why has it still not been called genocide? Second, there are laws and established laws since late 1940s where those who deny genocides, they are criminalized, they are punished. And this is in free speech countries like Europe. This is in free speech countries. Recently, Germany punished somebody for 5 years in jail because he wrote propaganda denying that Nazis ever did a genocide. France sent somebody to jail for 1 year where he denied and sent his pamphlets to all churches in various places, effectively calling what Nazis did as a hoax. So you have laws which punish genocide deniers. In India, we are not even yet calling it a genocide in an official way. So first step is you call it a genocide because it was a genocide. Then you start making laws that those who do justification of that genocide. There is this famous clip of an Indian news journalist saying that Kashmiri Pandits were the elite, even though they were minority. And I'll take the name also. It's Barkadat. It's visible on your, just Google it, those who haven't seen it. But you must have because you are all concerned with that affair, where the justification is being given or a explanation is being given that the tiny elite conquered all resources, captured all resources in late 80s. That is why it happened. I don't agree with that because even by late 80s, you only had chief ministers and political representations of one community. So where was this elite capture? But this justification, first, define it as genocide. Second, make laws punishing those who deny this genocide. And this then will go further. We celebrate Tipu Sultan Jayanti. We have roads in India, in Delhi till recently named, and even today, named after various figures like Aurangzeb, etc. We don't have any road in Delhi, which is the capital. So capital is the representation. Anybody who comes from abroad, effectively for political purposes or media purposes, comes to your capital. Your capital should have roads named on legendary figures from Kashmir. It should have roads on legendary figures from Maharashtra, from Assam, from South India. Why all one dynasty having names, roads, institutions named after it? So that change in terminology so that people understand we are dealing with a genocide, unequivocally they understand that needs to be done. So I am sorry, we are still not even at the first step. If you're not even calling it genocide, what justice do you expect? So government of India first has to call it for what it is, a brutal genocide.
Thank you, Ishkaran, and I welcome you from UK. You're not in UK, but thanks to technology, we're able to talk to you live from Delhi, and Anupma is in London. I'm in Edinburgh, sunny Edinburgh. So thanks for highlighting that letter. So did you get any response for that letter? I completely agree. This Holocaust or genocide need to be recognized. Last year I attended early this year I attended a program in Scottish Parliament where they talked about all the genocides in the world on Holocaust Memorial Day, but there was no mention of any Hindu genocide. So from a UK perspective, how can you guide us so that we can take this forward and highlight the Hindu genocide been done, be it in Kashmir or other places? Can you just guide us on that, please? Yeah.
See, what gets covered under a genocide denial law? I'm just giving it a layman terminology. Though if you want, I can share my letter to the Home Minister. That's the exhaustive document. So where I gave examples of country from Austria to Germany to France to Poland, etc., having laws in which genocide denial is a punishable crime. It's an offense. And European Court of Justice is generally very pro freedom of speech, has upheld those punishments. So the courts have examined those laws, have punished under those laws. So they are acceptable practice. So there is no dispute that you can have laws like this. Even at European Forum, where the human rights courts are generally very pro free speech. So that same thing, I am trying in India. I wrote to the Honorable Home Minister, but it's a governmental decision, and then lockdown happened, and every normal thing has gone out of the natural progression, and obviously pushed that issue, like some other issues I'm pushing. But in UK, since your specific question is about UK, I do believe the Indian community there, and especially people like you who are on the platform, Anuji, you should write to the government, Scotland, UK. These are local national laws. Put out the data, put it out to the government, ask the government that this be included as a genocide in the definition of genocide. And then the laws of UK, whatever they be, on people who support genocide or propagate genocide, or those who deny it, who deny that Kashmir genocide happened, that should be classified as a hate crime. UK has hate crime laws. So you need to get your definitions in place and then use the law effectively. And that is the long-term solution. Unless we have the right laws and we get into the category, see, world is into categories. If we get into the right category to fit under the right law, only then protection starts coming. Otherwise, it's all very emotional, but it is not very sharp or effective. So you need to get into the right category to get the right protection of law in any Western democracy or Indian democracy.
Thank you, Ishkaran. I think we will definitely take this forward, and people like you will definitely motivate other youngsters. Being so young, you're taking so many initiatives. So one of the major initiative which has become a viral on social media, your Dharmik certification, which is, I have not seen any Facebook page or Twitter where it's not been discussed. So you've been actively fighting for the right to choose a non-halal food in every way, especially in UK. We have seen that you go to a restaurant or you buy any food, grocery, everything is marked as halal, but there's nothing about the non-halal people if I don't want to eat halal food. So tell us more about the construction of the argument you have used to the fight of the monopoly of the halal product, and about your Dharmik certification. Can you please highlight our viewers, please?
I'll tell you, it's a very interesting thing. Those who are watching it and want to know more about it can see my YouTube videos, because I have given there in depth. But I will just tell you how it started. I was getting tagged by a lot of people on Twitter, as well as in real life, some dharmic organizations and some social organizations. A lot of them approached me and talked about this halal problem. And they said it's a monopoly now. It's an economic monopoly, and you will hear it in depth. It's available on YouTube, on my channel also, how it's the economic monopoly. Some call it an economic jihad, etc., etc. So that is all available on YouTube. I will tell you why I chose this method. Because I saw everybody was just talking about halal boycott. Well, that is an individual choice. You do it or don't do it is your choice. But if a monopoly comes into being, then it's very difficult for you to challenge it. I wrote a RTI, that's Right to Information, to the government of India, asking, for example, Air India is a public sector undertaking, right? it's effectively subsidized by taxpayer money, right? So it is subsidized by taxpayer money. We all pay taxes. So I asked, what is the non-veg you serve? If Air India said that we serve halal, jhatka, for example, kosher, perfectly okay. Their written reply to me, written reply is, we source our meat from these 2-3 suppliers. These 2-3 suppliers are halal suppliers. So effectively in Air India, in a public sector undertaking, if you eat non-veg, you're eating halal non-veg.
Yeah.
So that was something I felt is wrong. I felt that if people have the choice to eat halal, their choice. Same way, others should have their own certificate. Call it dharmic certificate, call it sattvic certificate, nomenclature. We can, once it becomes serious, you can do anything. I said dharmic because it should all encompass. So once you have your own certification in place, then you decide which shop to go. You do not need to boycott anybody, because see, the problem in modern world is you start this halal boycott, lot of quarters, especially UK, they might call you an Islamophobe.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
They might start attacking you back. So you just say it's equality. You are allowed to have halal, right? We are not boycotting you. Just give us our certificate. So when we go to a shop, we know what we are eating. And I started a petition for this on change.org. I was surprised. In no time, it had 50,000 signs, then it had 75,000 signs, and now it is reaching 1 lakh signs. So that means, and it's an organic way. It grew in an organic way. People shared it in WhatsApp, Facebook, etc. And those of you who haven't signed it, please do sign it. After it is 1 lakh, I will write a letter to the food ministry that this is the demand of people of India, that you please start a parallel certificate the way Government of India recognizes halal certification, and it is way beyond food now. We have apartment buildings. I have covered it in my video. We have apartment buildings with halal certificate.
Yeah.
Whereas a case I did in Jamshedpur, I helped a fruit seller who had just placed a Bhagwa Jhanda and called his shop a Hindu Phal Dukan, and he had a case registered on him. And then he faced harassment. I had to step in. I talked to Jharkhand police. I tweeted that he is facing death threats now. And then Jharkhand police took some action to safeguard him, registered a case on that Hindu fruit shop sellers. And some people sent him money also. I made an appeal that please send him some money directly. And people sent that money directly to his account. So you are at one stage persecuting a person for just writing Hindu Phal Dukan. At other step, you are having halal on everything. That clearly cannot stand. So that has to go. And for that, you need to have a certificate in which you are not Islamophobe, in which you are just a person having the right of equality and choosing which shop you want to go. One would have halal certified, one would have dharmic certified. Rest your choice. Wherever you want to go, it's a free country, it's a free world. Please go.
You're right, Ishkaran. So what really got me is that halal has moved on from meat products now into other products which have nothing to do with meat. So we talk about, we got a brand of atta the other day, and it was halal certified. And my daughter, who's aware of all this, she was horrified. She said, well, what does meat have to do with halal? So I explained the whole economics behind it and how a certain community only can work in these. So it is monopolization not only on your product, but also monopolization of the source, the supply chain where it's coming from. So that gets monopolized as well. Out here in UK, it has become a source of cultural misappropriation as well. We raised this in the Parliament of UK as well, and we raised the fact that why should our children in school being fed from school meals be fed halal food? They should have a choice between halal and non. Many supermarkets out here give us halal, non-halal, or halal meat only, not non-halal meat. The dharmic certificate, how far can it go to protect those people who do not want to buy halal? You can't have dharmic certificate on everything, like apartments, for example.
See, to put it very simply, halal monopoly developed in last 15-20 years.
That's true.
And the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. People, unfortunately, were not vigilant. So halal came into meat. Then it started squeezing out. It's not so simple. It started squeezing out jhatka manufacturers and other manufacturers and squeezing it out in multiple ways, multiple pronged strategies. Then I talked to certain hotel owners and restaurant owners. They say a particular community would come and only talk about, do you serve halal or not, or we won't eat. So that is social awareness. Nothing law can do. You go, those of you who eat meat, go and say, we will enter a shop only if it serves jhatka. So that is, end of the day, a social pressure group, and it's historically, sociologically, psychologically dominated, psychologically confirmed, seen, tested, that a minority or a group which is uncompromising in the market generally wins. So that has been documented. So you have to, A, at a social level, insist on it. B, on the certificate level, where you can stretch. See, people get into puritanical debates. Oh, dharmic would include this or not. Understand, the other side is going to put halal on apartments also. Whereas you're busy fighting amongst yourself. Would this come under dharmic? Would meat come under this? Would veg come under this? Stop fighting. Get the major point. Major point is have your own certificate with whatever name you want to call it. Please call it. With whatever categories you want to put into it, please put into it. Please, at the first step, get something, then get into fine print. They are having apartment blocks with halal. What are you having? Discussions, should this come under that or should that come under this?
Not only that, in UK, women's wear are sold as a halal certified women wears. In MNS and other places you go, the women wears and other things which are sold as. So we should have a liberty to choose what we want. I think you have touched the chord of most dharmic people, not just Hindus, the Sikhs, the Jains, all the dharmic faith have been, very supportive of your petition, and we were really looking forward that if we can replicate the same in UK and the rest of the world. I think Ishkaran, that's a fantastic. I must congratulate you for taking this, which many of us suffered, and you've taken this up. And halal is cruel as well, as per my personal opinion is, and it's cultural misappropriation as well. So Anupma, you want to add something more on that about the halal, because this is the most people wanted to hear from Ishkaran about the dharmic and the fight about halal certification.
Just add one point here, Puneet.
Yeah.
You in UK would have a Monopolies Act, right? Act legally which restricts monopolies. So please use those laws. Please use those acts to say that monopoly cannot allow to become a part of life, or set up, I do not know what your food certification process in UK is, set up a community-based certification program, get a recognition from the government. I really do not think that they can stop you on this. Because if they are allowing shops to have the word halal certificate, same way you can have shops with dharmic certificate. So point is, what is the right way? I personally do not agree that only halal boycott will win. It will just get you branded as an Islamophobe. You have to have a strategy in which you know what you are buying, and dharmic food only tells you what you are buying. So either a society you people set up, or those who are into food waste set up, get a government certification, whichever is available to halal. See the equivalent certification, get that, and start pasting it on shops which are serving food which people from Sanatan Dharam would want to have. And it's not an insurmountable barrier. I think it's a very reasonably easy barrier to achieve, to have your own certification, at least in UK. India, the politics is going to be lot messier because there is economic monopoly now on it. People from certain communities who used to do meat work have been squeezed out. Sikhs have been squeezed out. Khatiks have been squeezed out. A lot of communities have been squeezed out. So in UK, whatever the position, get into it right now. Otherwise, 2 years down the line, it will become tougher in what 2 years? Every day it becomes tougher. So get into your certification business right now.
Thank you, Ishkaran. We'll definitely look forward to it and your guidance as well to take this forward.
Thank you, Ishkaran. Continuing with that, that idea of misappropriation of culture and the way it kind of squeezes a plurality out of the public discourse, be it the murders of Palaghar Sadhus and their lawyer, brutal murders, be it a brutal murder of Kamlesh Tiwari, be it IB officer Ankit Sharma, be it the case that you just mentioned, where the Hindu shop owner was asked not to have a saffron flag or have Hindu in the name of his shop. Or even going on the streets of Delhi, hum kya chahte azadi, and making it kind of new normal in the process. People might think these are all separate issues, but we Kashmiri Hindus know there's a pattern to this. I listened to Simon Sinek, and he says he calls it an infinite game. It's an infinite game. It's a death by thousand cuts. It's happening. You try and squeeze one thing, the other things comes out. So, but while people might think it's an isolated incident, we know this part of a master sinister plan. We know it's about Ghazwa-e-Hind. Every single act is about Ghazwa-e-Hind. What should we counter to stop these mini Kashmirs starting everywhere in India and across the world as well? But starting with India, what is our strategy?
See, our strategy, firstly, I feel there is a lot of lack of awareness, which has reduced in the age of social media. It has reduced, but it is still there. There are still people who, Hindus, and devout Hindus, devout in the sense who believe in Hindu religion, who still in normal discourse say, why not celebrate Tipu Jayanti?
Yeah.
Because they have been fed in their school textbooks, they have been fed in their daily life that Mughals were a great dynasty. Your school books do not have Chola dynasty. Your school books do not have, effectively, Vijayanagaram Empire. They do not have Ahom dynasty. So, and a normal person, I'm talking normal. See, this audience is a aware audience because you are working on issues. But a normal person, and rightfully so, he goes to school and then he gets busy in earning his bread and butter.
Yeah.
Right? So whatever he learns in school is effectively, to a great degree, what attention he pays on historical issues and social issues. A great majority of them. Then they become aware only when it comes time to vote. And that's not in India, that's across the world. Because people are busy in their lifestyles and in the need to feed for and fend for themselves. So our school books need to recognize, and it's still not being done. It's still not being done. We have Lodi estate in Delhi where all the members of parliament live. A lot of them live. So anybody who comes from any part of India to visit his member of parliament, talk to him, basically goes to a Lodi estate. So he would obviously feel Lodi dynasty was a great dynasty. Whereas if you see them, they were nothing more than zamindars. There were zillion is an exaggeration maybe, but there were thousands of dynasties with larger land area and more influence than them. Thousands. So why do we have Lodi estates? Why don't we name it as Chola estate or as Ahom estate or as any estate you want to? Maharaja Ranjit Singh estate, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj estate, any estate. See, any part of India, any religious figure, social figure, political figure of those times, because those time political figures were generally kings. So anybody of that time, why don't we have that? Our basic problem before we start talking about what others are doing is our own house in order.
Yeah.
Why after independence till today, we have an Aurangzeb road and an Aurangzeb lane. It's changed now recently, but there are many places it has not changed. And Aurangzeb issued farmans of destruction. It is not debatable issues. These are his farmans where mandirs were destroyed.
Yeah.
So it is not ancient history of 100 BC. This is 1700s. Documented, written. Travelers from Portugal, travelers from Britain, travelers from Arab world, all have documented this. He has documented in his own words. It's available in museums. So why do you still have it? So our own house is not in order. So I, for one, believe for 2 years, stop concentrating on how we stop this or that. first say, have you done the things you need to do for yourself? Are you ready within yourself? Is your culture in an independent country being showcased the way you want it to be showcased? Is your history being showcased the way you want it to be showcased? Churchill, since you're from Britain, said, I intend to go down well in history because I intend to write it.
Yeah.
Writes the history. So you won. You got independent. You won. Have you written your history? If you haven't written your history, why are you wasting time in saying, इनको क्या करें, उसको क्या करें? अरे भाई अपनी history तो लिख लो पहले आप.
Ishkaran, we have to kind of take a step back here. For 6 years, we have given overwhelming majority, increasingly overwhelming majority, to somebody who we want to fix these issues. The 70 years of rot that has set in, and I for one totally believe it will take some time for this rot to stop. But some of those easy wins, low-hanging fruit, renaming of roads, changing our history books, that is the first step towards that understanding our culture, understanding our dharma, understanding where we come from. Therefore, if somebody comes back to us and say Lodi was great or Tipu Sultan was fantastic, or you are not allowed to have, just a definition of what is secularism. Does secularism mean special treatment to one particular minority religion? This kind of knowledge, you would expect that 6 years is a long enough time to have been embedded in our thinking, in our learning, in our schools, in our colleges. Why is it not happening? What else do we need to do as common citizens?
Two things. One would think 6 years is a long time, but it clearly hasn't happened, right? So I speak bluntly, so I'll speak bluntly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Very often a problem that sometimes people know you have no other option. Governments know, parties know, whichever, that you have no other option. So why should we fulfill all your demands? That is also sometimes a problem of not having options. If that's in play, that's a very, not a very comfortable situation. But I do not think that is fully in play, though realistically that is also somewhat in play. Second point is, so forget government, though some of these steps have to come from government. So you have to create pressure. You have to, whichever thing suits you, create a momentum for that, create a pressure for that, and that pressure has to come to bear. Because see, a politician, for a second, let's forget we're talking about Modi ji. A politician, you are in Britain, sees where his votes lie.
Yeah.
Sees, can his voter shift? Does his voter have an option? Can his voter shift? Will his voter shift? Or if his voter won't shift, will his voter become unenthusiastic and sit at home, not campaign, not go out to vote? Would that happen? So voters have to be very clear, pressure groups have to be very clear. We are in a democracy, make demands, raise demands from the government, because a lot of stuff has to come from government. And that is an issue where we have to see how much role, Tina, there is no alternative plays to a cause. How much role are you going to go ahead? Enough is being done so that we don't sit at home because other side is way worse if they come to power, or we need to push more. Those are very serious discussions where you have to go and think very carefully, and you may not have unanimity on that. The other part, which society can do, where we can have unanimity, is find 3, 4, 5, 6 causes, whichever you do, and in the right way, create social awareness on them. Lot of things are thought as impossible. Example, US, if anybody was in US where Obama was doing his first campaign, 2007, 2006, equal rights and marriage for gays or, was nowhere in the card, even in his agenda.
Yeah.
And it's now such an accepted fact in Western world, nobody even bats an eyelid.
That's true.
Sometimes things are not even on radar and they suddenly become on radar because enough people agree to it. That balance shifts in democracy. So that social pressure in India has to be brought, that these are the things in which we want. Let me tell you another way. Do you think Ram Mandir would have happened the way it happened? I'm a lawyer, so I won't speak more on this. But do you think Ram Mandir would have happened the way it happened if BJP had got 150 seats in 2019? So that's a question you have to ask yourself. We all know the answer to it. So everything, in the end of the day, it's a democracy. We, the people, our will influences everybody, from people who are speaking on media, to people who are deciding in bureaucracy, to people who are deciding in courts, to people who are getting elected. End of the day, democracy, the will of the people, overwhelmingly affects everybody. And that will gets manifested in time of election, or right now by social pressure groups.
Indeed. And it requires sacrifice. Dharma requires sacrifice, Sri Krishna has said. Just as a side, what happened to that vendor who was carrying the saffron flag on his? Is he okay?
Yeah, what happened was that again, see, social media is a good place, and frankly, in lockdown, I get more time to spend on social media. So one of the things of lockdown, it has. Some people started tagging me that in Jharkhand somebody has a case registered on him for writing on his shop Hindu Phal Dukan. That's all he wrote, Hindu Phal Dukan, and a case was registered on him. So some people contacted me. I said, I generally don't do that, because most people have their own legal teams and etc. But this person, so I tweeted that anybody who was in touch with him can contact me. And if a case like this is registered, that's completely illegal. It's completely illegal. A lot of things happen at local level, because local level knows nobody will pay attention to it. Nobody will take it up. And it serves the local area's purpose. Frankly, in local areas, constitution is a very high sounding principle, but I am sure the same in where you live also. In local decisions, a lot of decisions are taken which won't survive in the constitutional challenges to it, but nobody does it. Nobody takes the challenge. So I tweeted this. That tweet got 15,000, maybe 20,000 retweets. I don't remember now. And one day down the line, that from Jamshedpur, Rajkumar, that's the fruit seller's name. So Rajkumar ji called me up, sent me 3-4 messages that I am this. I saw your message. My nephew showed it to me. Somebody showed it to me. So I said, okay.
Live is broken for the technical glitches. So Annu was asking Ishkaran about the dharmic certificate and other questions. So Ishkaran, I've got a very interesting question for you. You have been involved in a lot of, women should have asked this question, but I'm asking on behalf of all women. You've been involved in a lot of women-centric cases, especially justice for Nirabhaya murder and rape case, Sunanda Puskar's murder case. So tell us more about these cases, especially for Nirabhaya case, where the most brutal was Juvenile, and he was set free because of his age. Shouldn't it be the age of the person, shouldn't it be the crime of the person which should determine the punishment, not the age? And also about Sunanda Pushkar, do you think she will get justice? So what are your thoughts about it?
I'll answer both of them. On Nirbhaya, I got into the case because when that happened, I saw an entire lobby saying 18 in India used to be the cutoff date. No matter what sort of crime you did, no matter how heinous the crime is, if you are 18, below 18 by even 2 days, 1 day, you won't be punished. By punished, I mean a normal punishment. You will not be punished. So when Nirbhaya happened and this thing started, I did not like it at all. So I went to Dr. Swamy. It's still not live, I think.
Yeah, it's live. It is 2-minute delay. So 1 or 2 minute delay.
Okay, just tell me if it's live and it's.
I think it is live. I can see.
It is live. Okay. Yeah. I can see somebody's message is live. So when I saw that, I went to Dr. Swamy. I said, this is not right. And Dr. Swamy said, yeah, this is not right. And let's file a case on this. And so he was the lead petitioner, obviously. And I became a co-petitioner with him in this. The basic premise was that laws in UK, US, Europe, they see the crime and then they correlated with the age. In the sense, supposing you are 17 years and 6 months and you did a heinous gang rape, you would get the full punishment. In India, it was a knee jerk or like a cutoff line with no nexus with the crime done. So supposing a boy in school at 16 or 17 punches somebody, that somebody breaks a teeth, tooth, that somebody breaks an arm, the boy doesn't get punished because that is a schoolyard fight. That is not the same as a brutal gang rape. They are two fundamentally different things.
Sure.
School fight, understandably, you don't want to send that sort of a child in normal course. I'm not saying something very deviant school fight, a normal school fight. In normal world, that would be assault, maybe a grievous assault if a bone was broken. But you do not want to send a 16-year-old to jail or a 17-year-old to jail because he had a schoolyard fight. But gang rape is completely different, and that's what the world recognizes. India did not recognize it. So a case was filed in the Juvenile Board, then it went to High Court, then it went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court delayed the Juvenile Board proceedings for this particular juvenile, heard the matter at length, and in the end, it said there are two issues with this. One, law is very clear on this, that we can't have ex post facto changes. That is, after the crime, you cannot increase the punishment.
Right.
And that is a very sound principle. Supposing today talking on this forum is not a crime, right? Tomorrow the government cannot say it is a crime and then punish us backdated or
That's
anything.
okay.
Some business transaction you do, and that's not a crime today. Tomorrow the tax law could change. That could become a penal offense. But it will be from the day the tax law changes, not backdating it. And second, they said Parliament has to do it. But luckily, Maneka Gandhi ji was the minister. We approached her and she changed the law. So in that case, the case eventually succeeded because what the court said, that this needs a thorough rethink, and the government did do a thorough rethink, and they changed the law. And now, if you are above 16 but below 18, the Juvenile Board, consisting of a judge, a psychologist, child expert, takes into consideration the type of crime and then decides, do you get protection of juvenile law or do you not get the protection of juvenile law? So they have put a judicial process rather than an absolute statute, a bar that, bhai, no, you will not be treated for your crime. So that great change has come.
That's fantastic, and that's kudos to you and both Swamy ji. Thank you very much for that. We outside India get asked this. There is this misrepresentation of India, and especially Delhi, as rape capital of the world. Statistics say completely otherwise. There are other countries where women are unsafe, more rapes happen per capita population. But I don't want to go into the stats. That is not the point. As a woman, I want to know how can we make it safe for the last woman, a person who's returning from work at 10 p.m. and a person who is working in broad daylight on an office floor, as a TV presenter, a model, or an office worker. There are two things to it. It's not as bad. Am I correct in saying that in terms of stats, it's not as that bad? And B, how can we make it safer? There's no dearth of law. There's a problem with execution. So where do you come in through there?
Without getting into the stats, certain times what happens is that a branding gets done of a particular country, in fact, I won't say a city, for various reasons. Stats are a matter of data, and anybody can see what the stats say, so I will not waste the time of the audience on that. What is required, even if we have low stats, even one case is a case too much. But that is something the entire world has to also grapple with, and India has to. So I'll talk in India's specific context. Crime, not only women crime, crime with old people, crime with children, crime of all sorts is a part of society. How best can we reduce it and how far can we reduce it is what our effort has to be. And in this, I would say, see, our culture, where you have to pray for money, you pray to Goddess Lakshmi. Where you have to pray for knowledge, you pray to Goddess Saraswati. Where you have to pray for fighting, Shakti, you pray to Durga Ma. Or various forms. And so all feminine forms of the three most, let's say, if God was the Prime Minister, the super important cabinet positions are with women. and have always been with women in India, which is not the case in many other religions. I will not go more specific, but that's not the case with many other religions. And that is also a data point. That's an absolute fact. So Indians were worshipping women. Indians recognized women as a superior force in many, many fields. And we have to go back to that sort of thinking, because end of the day, we need to teach our kids that while you keep on aping the West and Westernization, and you have these Instagram and these chat rooms. I had the president of Delhi Psychologist Society, a very prominent psychologist, on this. There is this chat room on Instagram where people were talking a lot of smut, young boys in school, about young girls, and you know what sort of Instagram chat room was there: gang rapes, this, that. God knows what all modern lingo they have, which I don't even understand, but it is all a lot of smut. So rather than going that route, we have to tell and create a social awareness starting very young that we pray to women. We have prayed to women. So please, in your quest of Westernization, don't go into directions which are not required. Please come back to what your roots are as a social endeavor. Understand that women have in India been prayed to as goddesses, and goddesses also of the most powerful, if I may use common term, cabinet minister, or if you are a board of director, controlling your finance, controlling your PR, controlling your HR, controlling your defense. So that is the position, and that's unique. That's unique. So let's appreciate that, propagate that, plus local policing steps which have to be taken, that a good administration has to do. So vote sensibly, get a good administration which does take these steps.
True. And I think probably I'll just interject there and talk about Dharma, because the series of this talk is called Dharma Speaks. We're talking about hopping on to back to our Hindu Dharma, the way we treat in Hindu Dharma, the way we treat our women, and not necessarily for everybody else. That may not be true for everybody else. What's bringing us down is the fact that for many years now, many hundreds of years now, the government, previously British government and now Indian government, is controlling our temples. So which used to be the source of knowledge, which used to be the source of culture, tradition, gurukul, language, science, arts. Now the government controls them. Very recently we had this case, and I told you I saw that YouTube video of yours where one of the Congress leaders in Maharashtra asked for gold reserves from mandirs, not land from churches, not money from the masjids or any other places, but gold, specifically gold for temples. We have been really vocal about this. All dharmics around the world have been vocal about this. When is Hindu going to be able to control his temples? When are we going to get the control of our temples back?
You raised the Congress demand, and I did make a video on that, and a lot of people saw it. And if somebody hasn't seen it, please see, because I'll just put one point of that video here. Why was it specifically made a demand that gold be taken? They know English, they know Hindi, they know Marathi, or whatever language they wanted to speak in. Why did they not say assets be taken over? Because different worshippers of different religions give different offerings to the God they believe in. Hindus predominantly, even Sikhs for that matter, we have Amritsar entire golden temple where the king wanted to give a donation. In fact, he gave it for Kashi Vishwanath also. So Hindus, Sanatan Dharmi, Sikhs, they have been giving gold as an offering. Whereas you have waqf properties in Muslims, or lands usually in Christianity, and very little gold. There is some gold, but very little gold. So specific usage of the word gold is how they frame a debate, is how they misguide the youth. Are bhai, it's an epidemic. Gold, Bhagwan is to help you in epidemic. We are asking gold, take gold. If they said assets, then that's a very different debate. And then you can have a debate that do you need to take over assets of church, mosques, gurdwaras, temples to deal with the crisis, or you do not need to. That's a governmental decision not to be taken. I'm not getting, but I'm saying we aren't even having that debate of equality. We are having a debate of targeting temples. That is the problem. That is why I made the video and showed how we are and why we are not in controls of temple. And on this, I will add one point. Please understand, even in a BJP state, they passed a Char Dham Act taking over temples. Dr. Swamy has filed a petition and a notice has been issued. So what happens is that you come, and I'm not saying BJP has bad intentions, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So you come to power, you say, oh, we are very good, we will improve the temple, we will do Punaruthan, the temple pujari is not doing it well enough, we will make a model law. In that model law, you take over all temples. The chief minister of Uttarakhand becomes the head, an IS officer runs the temple. You have en masse taken over temples, even though your manifesto said something else. And after you come to power, you think you will have a 1,000-year reign?
No.
We have had experiments with people who thought they will have a 1,000-year reign and they will be in power forever. Governments do get voted out. And tomorrow a Congress government comes, it will say, bhai, ye to Bhajpa sarkar ne kiya hai. Hame kya bol rahe hain?
True.
So we need to be very clear, no matter what the government, temple should be released. And if BJP government is doing a temple takeover, people need to come out and speak openly and bluntly that this will not be tolerated.
Yeah.
You need to release, not take over newer temples.
I think just to add on that, Ishkaran, I've seen another video with you and Dr. Swamy in a car where you were discussing about when you were returning from Uttarakhand about the Char Dham Act, where the government is trying to take over the Char Dham temples and other things. So I think there's a lot of misinformations on Facebook and social media against Hindus. It says that the Hindu temples are not contributing to this crisis, and I've just been posting about the news about Sai temple, the Balaji temples, and all of the temple have donated so much to the PM Care Fund, and people don't know about this Char Dham Act. So just last on this point, Ishkaran, if you can just highlight our audience that what this Char Dham Act is there and what they're trying to do with this act. I somehow heard that this is 50+ temple would be taken over by this act. So on this last point, can you just highlight our audience, please? Thank you.
Firstly, I will tell about Char Dham Act, and that's a long video, not a long video, it's a 17-minute video when we were coming back from Uttarakhand. For in-depth details, you can see that. But I will first take an objection or a different point of view with what you said. You said our mandirs have done this, and contributed to PM Cares Fund, and we have been posting that. I think that's a fool's game. Why do we have to justify what the mandirs have done? We start playing by their rules. We start trying to justify to them. PM Cares Fund is a secular fund. Hindus or Sanatan Dharmis go to a mandir. They make donations. That then goes to a secular fund, which will do all sort of activities. How many mosques have donated to PM Cares Fund, which is a secular fund, governmental fund? How many churches have donated to PM Care Funds? We get proud of the fact, oh, हमने इनको justify कर दिया कि हमने PM Cares को दिया. अरे भाई, why do you want to justify? Why? We don't need to justify.
Yeah.
We do not need to justify. We say मंदिर का fund है, मंदिर के आसपास जो लोग आते हैं, forget the big mandirs. Moderate size mandirs, जो मंदिर के आसपास लोग आते हैं, or I speak in English because you might have audience from all over. People who come across in the mandir, we provide them food. We, that is the mandir, will give food. We, that is the mandir, will provide education. Why do you send money of mandir to a CM Care Fund or a PM Care Fund or a XYZ Care Fund? Mandir cares in itself. We do not need to transport that money to care funds and then justify to those whom you can never win over. There is an audience you can never win over. So stop doing cartwheels to win them over. Say, we, mandir cares, mandir will take care of it. We will not give it to PM care funds, no matter who the PM is. We will not give it to CM care funds, no matter who the CM is. It is donations, it is offerings by a particular community. It will be used for that community's purpose, as other communities are using. I again come to the gold debate. If all mosques, all churches are giving to the CM care funds or PM care fund, please do. If they are not,
That was a fantastic statement.
stop justifying. We do not need to justify.
There are several dharmic causes that we could spend this money on for our own communities, which are lying in shambles everywhere.
That's
So, to conclude today's this really interesting debate, I am completely bowled over, Ishkaran. Thank you so much. Wonderful. What would your advice be to young dharmic communities across the world? There are all these budding new Ishkarans being born every day who could do something for the community. How do we inspire them? What would you say to inspire them?
I would say not only young, I would say my age, people elder to me, everybody has some way or the other of contributing. Some have time on their hand. They could be, retired from their job, have a lot of wisdom, lot of experience. They have seen life. They have a lot of time. So give time to a cause you believe in. Youngsters, give certain amount of time to a cause you believe in. But more than one thing, this is something I very strongly feel. Give time, everybody, no matter what the age, gender, financial status, professional status, give time. Second, please stop nitpicking. We have this tremendously bad habit of nitpicking. ये कर रहे हो तो इसमें ये भी करो. Jitna time you spend on nitpicking, jitna time you spend on this is the perfect plan before we implement as a group. I don't know whether your group faces that. I don't know anybody, so I can speak.
Everybody faces that. Don't worry.
How much you spend time on nitpicking. This comma has to be in this place. This I has to be dotted. This T has to be crossed. Stop doing that. You have a good intent. You have a broad vision. Napoleon, one of the legendary generals, was once asked, what's the best strategy to win a war? So they thought he will give a big discourse, have this much artillery, plan like this, do this, blah, 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 blah. So what's the best strategy to win a war? Napoleon's answer was, start a war and figure it out. So start your war, start your cause, and you figure it out. So that is something I would very strongly say, rather than wasting 100 man hours on fine tune and putting every I in place, just start a cause. And as the cause goes, change, amend, alter, and support as many people as you can, whom you believe are doing a good thing. Because believe you me, anybody doing a good thing, and I will give you this example. Lot of people told me when I was doing for Jamshedpur, Rajkumar ji sending money, we will send money to you. Lot of people told me we will send money to you for this. I have always said I will not take a paisa, because I had said that if I take it, if I have a cup of coffee also, 20 people will come and say, ye to is paise se coffee pi raha ho. I don't want that headache. So that nitpicking which happens, so I avoid it completely. But there are a lot of organizations which need money and will function only with resources. So stop nitpicking, stop finger pointing, as much as possible, unite and do supportive things that you can do, subject to your time, influence, money, professional level, etc., etc. Just join, just start a war and see how you win it. But just start the war you want to start.
Lakshmi out here is saying, you're a man after my own heart, buddy. Way to go. And yes, we have faced that so much about Hindus are not united and breaking down in faction and stuff. So that's a really, really good advice. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's a really great advice, I would say, Ishkaranji, because I've seen even in Hindu community, we pull each other. If somebody takes an initiative, they want to take the credit, or somewhere they want to pull each other. And I think the cause should be the more important than anything else. So I'll just hand over to Abhay to say a thank you note, and I really sincerely hope that all of these three teams would host you sometime in London or somewhere in UK once the
Totally.
lockdown is over, to an opportunity to see and meet you face to face. So over to you, Abhay. Abhay, you're muted, I think.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can
Yeah,
hear you.
okay. Right. Thank you, Punidhi. Thank you, Anuji. Thank you for asking me to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. It's an honor for me. On behalf of Hindu Forum of Britain, Kashmiri Pandits Cultural Society, Friends of India Society International, all the colleagues involved, a very hearty thanks to Ishkaran ji for gracing your important work and sharing with us your findings and opinions. Today hashtag was or is Dharma Speaks. I remember one quote from Manusmriti, Dharmev hato hanti dharmo rakshati rakshitah tadatmarmo na hantavyo mano dharmo hato vadit. So thank you for being fearless in protecting dharma with dharma.
Yeah.
And on so many points, we only come to know the distorted facts, what we watch or read through media. So thanks for sharing the actual facts with us, whether it was on Kashmiri Genocide, Dharmik Food Certification, Sunanda Puskar case, Nirbhaya case, or control on Hindu temples, Chadham Act. Thanks for taking few of our viewers' questions. It was very informative, very motivating, and an eye-opener session for me. And I hope the same for other viewers as well. To know more about Ishkaranji's work and the stance he has taken, as Ishkaranji mentioned, he is having his Facebook and YouTube channel, so please do subscribe and follow him there. And I'd like to thank respected Tripti ji, Lakshmi ji, Punit ji for organizing this session, and of course all the viewers for joining us today. I hope, as Punit ji mentioned, we can have such sessions in near future as well. Maybe when this situation gets over face to face next time. And apologies for today's technical glitches we faced. We'll try next time to fix it from next sessions. So once again, thank you, Ishkaranji, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. And hopefully after this is over, we will meet in person and be nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.